You may have come to realize that computer components are incredibly expensive. Duh, right? It comes to the point that when you see something incredibly affordable, you question, is this any good? Is it going to work in a day or two or a month or two? You might not buy it because it's so affordable. For example, a computer case. A lot of us don't realize how important a computer case is for so much airflow, component length and height, and what can actually fit inside of that case. So sometimes we spend a lot of money on a case. What if I were to tell you there's an incredibly affordable solution that looks very familiar? Today, my friends, I bring you an unboxing and an overview of the Montech Air 1000 Lite. It's been a little while since I've reviewed Montech cases. They've always been awesome, but because of that, because it's been so long, are they not so great anymore? Well, we're gonna find out today, just first off, what comes in the box. And then in my next video, we're gonna do a complete build inside of this case so you can see just how good or how bad it is. Let's get started. The Montech Air 1000 Lite, we can see the case right over here, Air 1000 Lite with good value, Montech. And normally we can see all the specs right over here, but with all the tape and everything, it all ripped off. Along the back over here, they talk about the series and then a few of the features here. And then the front of the case. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, it's a very familiar looking case. So let's go ahead, open it up. The last few cases I've reviewed have been white. So this time I chose black. And Montech did send this to me. So, comes with the usual foam and the case wrapped up. All right, so along the side we can see the tempered glass side panel. Okay, then along the front we can see the mesh filter with a Montech logo right down here. Now, the side panel is removable, or the front panel I should say, is removable. Two little pegs up here and then two little sliders down here. You can see right up here the pegs, and then right down here the two sliders. Just slide right in here and slide it right up here to lock it. We can see a front mesh behind it, two 120mm fans, and you can add a third right over here. This will support three 120mm fans or three 140mm fans. A solid black side over here, and then a standard rear looking on the back. 7 ports right over here. It comes pre-installed with a 120mm fan. That is the largest fan you can put in there, though it is adjustable up and down. And then down here, a standard power supply, which can be up to 180mm in length or 200mm if you remove the hard drive cage, and I'll show you that in 1 second. It actually has a little ribbon right over here, which is kind of cool, so you can open up the side panel. The side panel also comes off, so you could just lift it and just take it off, and then when you want to, you could put it right back in. Might be a little awkward at first, but you have to line at the top and at the bottom right here and right here. Now, the case supports an ATX motherboard. Then it can also go down to a micro ATX or a mini ITX motherboard. The case can support up to a 340mm video card, but if you're using a radiator up at the front, the video card can be no larger than 320mm. Then comes in here with the manual. Let's go ahead and remove this side, the rear panel. It was almost completely toolless, but they put in the screw a little tight. And it does have a little handle here, so you can more easily remove the rear side panel. Coming around to the back, we can see a spot for two SSDs. can see that. And slides back in pretty easily as well, just like a door. And you screw it in and you're good. Now there are two grommets right over here, two rubber grommets. Then there are two grommets right up here, so you can fit cables through, as well as one up here that you can fit all the front I/O cables through. There are three Velcro ties right over here for cable management, which is great. And then right down here, you can fit two 3.5-inch drives or two additional 2.5-inch drives. The bottom one will have a little slide in and out tray. Then it comes with this box of accessories. Now inside of the little baggie that comes inside of the little white box, we'll find a few little things. So first off, this is one of the greatest inventions ever. This helps you get a standoff either screwed in or unscrewed from your case. Here is the Phillips head. Just put that there, put in a standoff right in here and screw it into your case. Even if you don't need this at this point, go ahead and put it in a box where you won't lose it. Another incredibly important thing that a lot of people toss, they don't even know how important it is, a speaker cable. Not something you're going to be listening to, but for when you power on your machine, if it doesn't completely power on, chances are it's going to give you a post beep, a power on self-test beep, 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 beep. That'll mean something, or beep, 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 whatever they sound like. So this is very important as well. Something also to save, put on the side. They include 5 of the teeny tiny zip ties. Very nice for cable management. Then they include 8 3.5 hard drive screws, 6 power supply or PCI expansion slot screws as well, and then 33 motherboard and SSD screws. And if there wasn't enough inside of the case already, a Velcro tie so you can tie together some more cables for cable management. Also with Montech's logo. Now, as I mentioned, right down here, you can fit up to a 180mm power supply. Down here, they have an opening so that it can breathe. And there's also a filter here. If you had a larger power supply, you can just remove this tray and fit up to a 200mm power supply. So it's great that they give you the feature. You're not just locked out. Coming along the bottom on the power supply shroud, we'll find a little opening here for the side window of a power supply, as well as the Montech logo and Montech silk screened onto the power supply shroud. Now the bottom of the case, we can see here, the feet will give us about 1 inch of clearance. That clearance is for the bottom of the power supply so it can breathe a little bit better. Now I mentioned there was a filter towards the bottom. That filter is easily removable and washable. Just wash it, dry it, pop it back in here and you're good. Each of these feet have rubber pads to keep it from sliding on your desk. Coming along the front of the case, we'll find right up here a power button, a reset button, LED, microphone, headphones, one USB 2.0 port, and 2 USB 3.0 ports. Now, there's actually something hidden right in front of you the entire time. The front filter. That easily slidable filter covered up these fans right up here towards the front of the case. Removing that gives you complete access to all these fans so you can remove them or add more. And when you're done, slide it back in. And that's it. Now along the top here, we can see a magnetic filter. Okay, we can remove that. We don't need to have it installed all the time. The top will support a 120 millimeter radiator, a 140 millimeter radiator, up to a 240 millimeter radiator. Now, if you don't want to liquid cool this unit, you can instead put two 120 millimeter fans up here or up to two 140 millimeter fans. Now, up at the front, we can fit a 120, 140, 240, 280, up to a 360 millimeter radiator. If we didn't want liquid cooling up at the front, we can put three 120 millimeter fans or three 140 millimeter fans. At the very rear, we can put a 120 millimeter radiator, and if we don't want liquid cooling at the back, we can put a 120 millimeter fan. Now, unfortunately, that is the smallest and the largest you can fit there. Now, while you can't fit a radiator down here, you can put up to two 120 millimeter fans. You'll notice a little cutout right down here, and then the holes for those fans as well. On the bottom of the case, you'll notice there's 1, 2, 3, 4 holes that you can slide cables through. These are always great to have, as well as the very front over here, which you can put a radiator, but if you don't use it for a radiator, like you would slide one right in here, you can use it for additional cables. Now, at the very top of the case, from the rear of the case to where you would screw in a radiator, you're given almost 2 inches of clearance. 2 inches is incredibly important because when you've built a system, at times you have the 4-pin or the 8-pin EPS cable that will hit the radiator, or you might have a heatsink that gets in the way of that radiator as well. So that is a great addition from Montech as well, and you'll see that in the build video coming up next. Aside from that inch of clearance from the very top, we're also given almost 2 inches of clearance from the top I/O to the top of the case, so that definitely allows for a larger radiator, or in some cases, any radiator to fit. Now, as I showed you along the rear, here are those 2 rubber grommets where you can feed cables through in or out. And then those 2 grommets right up here without the rubber, another one right over here. The cutout back here where you can fit a back plate on the back of a motherboard is about 8 inches wide. It covers almost the entire top of an ATX motherboard. That's pretty awesome. There's a ton of space back here. And then right back here is where you lock your PCIe slots. Now, if I were to undo those screws, you can slide it out like that. Also to have access to all these screws here. And coming around the back for all the I/O cables, we have the standard motherboard cables, the power LED reset switch, power switch, and LED switch. During the build, I go into great detail showing you guys where these go connected. Then a 3-pin fan header cable, another 3-pin fan header cable, so 2 3-pin fan header cables for the 2 installed fans, a USB 3.0 cable, a USB 2.0 header, and this one is front panel audio. So the Montech Air 1000 Lite, unlike the more expensive cases, because of its cost, is not using aluminum or anything. The side panels are steel, and then the front, there are plastic accents as well. This is steel, the top is steel, but these pieces are plastic. That's pretty common. It's not aluminum, so it's not going to cool as well. Now, one thing that has me a little concerned, and mind you, it is a $70 case, so it's incredibly affordable, is the 2 fans that are in the front. And the fan in the rear, they are 3-pin, so they're not PWM fan. They might be a little loud, I'm not sure just yet. I'm going to build on it very soon. Stay tuned for that. But at $70, you can buy whatever you want, and it's still going to be cheaper than very similar cases. Aside from the fans and maybe the steel, but I'm okay with the steel material, I think it's an awesome build. I've never seen a little ribbon here. Now, mind you, I have seen this hinge before, and it is very nice. While it does have little pegs to keep it locked in there, it's also magnetically backed, So if something happens with that little peg, the magnets will take over. Now, I didn't take off the... That sounded awesome. I wanted to leave it for last. Hold on. Beautiful. So, just makes it even more beautiful. Now, I just got zapped a few times, probably because of that. So, very important for the build. Ground yourself. But that will be coming soon. I will be building into the Montech Air 1000 Lite, and I'm gonna walk you through that, the entire build process, so stay tuned for that. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about this case, especially for $70. It does come in white and black. I'll have links to where you can find it on Amazon as well. They are affiliated links, and then also where you could find the premium and the silent as well. And if not, they're coming soon. So stay tuned for more on this. Iggy with ThisBytesForYou out. See you guys.